Jamie. I mean, one of the things that the president said in his tweet was that the gentleman fell harder than he was pushed. How does that work in terms of physics?
Look, the president raised several questions based on a report he saw. He has a right to ask those questions. And where he stands is squarely with law enforcement. He was making no judgments, not condoning violence, not saying what happened in this case with these two officers was right or wrong. But he's standing back and saying, we need to ask questions before we destroy lives and convict people in the court of public opinion. Yes.
Two questions on the economy. First of all, both the chair of the Federal Reserve and Stephen Mnuchin said today the U.S. will definitely need another round of stimulus. How urgent is that for the president? I mean, how soon do we expect him to meet with Democrats to discuss the next legislation?
Yeah, it's a good question. He met on a potential Phase 4 policy last week. It was a very promising discussion with his economic advisors. So that's in the works as to when and if we see that, but it is a topic of discussion. He was encouraged by the jobs report. We were supposed to lose 7.5 million jobs. We ended up gaining 2.5 million, a swing by 10 million. It was described to me as one of the by one famed economist as one of the worst miscalculations of economists in history, to be off by 10 million. That's the size of Michigan. So the president's encouraged because what we're seeing is a belief in the Trump economy and the Trump presidency. What we're seeing is the market soar. We're seeing the S&P have its best 50-day track record in history because they believe in a president that has free market policies that got us to the hottest economy in modern history and will get us there again. Yes.
The Federal Reserve today offered a pretty grim economic outlook, and unemployment has been too elevated for years. And also this week, we heard from the National Bureau of Economics research saying that the U.S. officially entered a recession. What is the White House response to that?
We believe that next month's jobs report will be robust. The president has been clear that Q4, he expects Q3 to be a transition period, Q4 to be robust, and next year to be a very hot year. And I would note that those in the prediction business, they were off by 10 million. That's not too good. So I'd go back and look at some of the models that were off and how extraordinary the jobs report was last time, including 300,000 new jobs for Black Americans. Yes.
Thank you so much. The president met with Mitch McConnell today, we understand. Can you kind of fill us in on what that discussion was about and any updates?
So I have no announcements on that front. Those were his private meetings, so no announcements out of that.
Add to Jonathan's question. You know, a lot of people are concerned that there is, you mentioned justice disparities. There's a lot of concern of some Americans that police officers treat Black individuals and people of color differently than white individuals. Does the president share those specific concerns?
Here's what he's concerned about. He's concerned about what and I've told you, he's addressed injustices with Sandra Bland and George Floyd and has repeatedly acknowledged that. But here is, in addition to that, his concern, put very well by New York's Police Benevolent Association President Mike O'Meara. Our legislators are failing us. Our press is vilifying us. He's saying us as police officers, stop treating us like animals and thugs. We've been vilified, and it's disgusting. When you have a sitting congressman, Ilhan Omar, calling cops cancer, what do you think that leads to? The AP reported on a shooting in front of a police department today in California. Let's stop vilifying our officers. Let's recognize injustice where we see it, but recognize all of us in here are safe because of our police officers doing their job each and every day.
But there are concerns among many Americans that people of color are not treated the same by police, and that is what many of the protests have been about. Does the president share those specific concerns?
The president believes most of our police officers are good, hardworking men and women, like David Dorn, who was killed among these riots, like Patrick Underwood, who was killed among these riots. Those are our police officers. They are our best. They are our brightest. They're absolute places of injustice. We're addressing those. We're looking at legislative proposals and EOs, and what ultimately is determined, we'll see in the coming days as to what will work as a policy prescription. But stop vilifying our officers because they deserve better than that. They're out there, they're working hard, 750 injured just in the last week and a half, and we need to recognize that. Yes?
Back on the Buffalo protester, is the president disappointed that more Republicans have not lined up to support the questions he asked, to use your characterization of it? Many people also characterize it as a conspiracy theory. And secondly, has the president reached out either to the injured gentleman or to the police officers involved?
So first of all, President Trump, I would say, he's not focused on what Republicans are saying or not saying on the Hill. He's focused on making changes. As I said, he's been diligently hard at work the last 10 days, and that is where his focus squarely lies at the moment. Yes.
And as he reached out